It's time to stop asking, and it's time to start telling. That's why the first hearing in the People's Tribunal of Ireland will be held on July the 1st. High Court Judge Michael McGrath has been summoned to be there. Hello guys, first of all, our sincere apologies for those of you who had collected at the CCJ last Tuesday. As we explained on Facebook, we got a couple of messages in from the court service at the last minute, basically telling us in so many words that number one, they didn't have the document we were looking for, and number two, that even if we did turn up, we wouldn't be given any audience without an appointment. So thank you again guys, but in future, as we've been saying for a long time now, it's time to stop asking them for things, and it's time to start telling them, because clearly they can't be relied upon to be fair, open, transparent and honest with us, not when there are rogue elements of the establishment that have to be protected. Hello again friends, another update on the shambolic, nonsensical, absurd, ridiculous carry-on going on up at the four courts in particular. Okay, since the last update I explained to you that on May the 18th, Justice Michael McGrath read out into the record what they're calling a judgment. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with this, a judgment basically closes a case down. It's the conclusion after all due process has been followed, or at least that's what's supposed to happen. Now, those of you that read the newspapers will have seen that the Irish Times published a report. Now, that report was also mirrored in a local newspaper here in the west of Ireland called The Western People. Now, the reason I'm naming these publications, guys, I've already put them both on notice, asking them for the right to reply. Very simply, I've told them that the article in their newspapers is wrong, and it's defamatory, and it's tendentious, meaning that it's written in a way that harms my reputation, and also misleadingly states that the case is closed. It's not. Okay, they want it to be closed because there are applications pending up not only at the High Court but also at the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, and up at the Criminal Courts of Justice for proceedings against the DPP Claire Loftus, against a number of judges, against some guards, senior guards, for multiple acts of contempt of the High Court and other nefarious activities, you know, such as are mentioned in the famous book now, Criminality in the Irish Courts and the Absence of the Rule of Law. Now, to bring you up to date, guys, what's happened since is that I have sent affidavits into the respective offices. That's the CCJ, the Court of Criminal Appeal, the Court of Appeal and at the four courts, the Supreme Court offices, and they've realised now that in order to sort of try and deny that those documents have been served on them, they're simply putting them in the post and sending them back to me without an explanation. Just put them in the, just pretend we never got them, I suppose. I mean, it doesn't, nothing surprises me anymore. Anyway, I've notified them, counter-notified them and said, sorry, the very fact that you made reference to them in the emails, trying to misdirect me and send me down another channel, that is proof that you received these documents. So they have been served. And then just to emphasize the point, I reserved them electronically on just about everybody and their aunties and uncles up there in the corridors of power. Now, in the meantime, in another attempt to obfuscate and obstruct and misdirect and muddy the waters, the Court of Appeal up in the four courts, right now, believe it or not, I don't want to confuse everyone, but there's the Court of Civil Appeal and then there's a Court of Criminal Appeal. I've touched on this previously, but very simply, the appeal office in the Four Courts that was dealing with a previous appeal that I put in 2019 is now trying to claim, even though I've got all of the correspondence, all of the emails, all of the records, they're trying to claim that they had nothing to do with that appeal now. And they have very conveniently transferred it over to a court of appeal in the CCJ, the Criminal Courts of Justice, who are maintaining the lie, oh yes, we dealt with this matter in 2019. It's an open and shut lie. It's very easily disproven. I don't even know why they bother saying things like this, because it's so easily disproven. Now somebody, they're going to get their names in lights today as well. A Miss Anne Goggin up at the CCJ, who claims to be some sort of a senior registrar or something. She just keeps repeating the mantra, oh, you were directed to do A, B and C by the president of the Court of Appeal, George Birmingham. No, I wasn't. I'm telling you I wasn't. I can prove that I wasn't because I have the recordings of the proceeding. So can we stop lying, please? Secondly, George Birmingham is complicit in Michael McGrath's fraud that is being foisted on all of the superior courts and which is trying to be covered up by Justice Donal O'Donnell. Who's Donal O'Donnell, you might say? Well, believe it or not, he's the guy tipped to be the next Chief Justice. Now, I'm going to say something very simple to everybody out there, okay? I'm going to use an analogy, all right? The analogy is this. You move to a new village and you notice there's no shops or anything around, but there is one beautiful looking restaurant. And everybody tells you, oh yeah, that's the only place that you can actually go and purchase a meal. That's it. There's only one location. So you turn up on the door, everybody's beautifully dressed, everybody seems very friendly and polite, and they're, you know, you put your name on a list and they seat you at a lovely table, and then they say, now, because this restaurant is so exclusive, I'm afraid we've got to charge you in advance before we bring you your meal. And you go, okay, well, you know, surely it's going to be great food, right? So you pay your money in advance, whatever, it's a couple of €100, you pay that, and then to your dismay, they trundle out this beautiful looking trolley with tablecloths on it and candles, oh, the whole lot, but they just dump on the table a bowl of gruel or miserable watery soup. And you say, well, what's this? And they go, that's what you're getting. And you say, but, you know, this isn't €200 worth. And they say, eat it all, and on top of that, we're actually going to bring you second helpings. And guess what? You're going to pay us for that as well. And you say, I'm not having this. And you stand up to leave, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by 3 or 4 muscly bouncers. And you are ordered to sit down, finish your food, pay the bill, and believe it or not, before you go out the door, you're going to pay them again to leave the building. Now, obviously the analogy is to do with our Irish courts. They have a monopoly up there. And even though now everybody is beginning to realise, well, hold on a minute, we're not being served justice. We're being served toxic, perjurious procedures. We are being ripped off. We're being lied to. We have a court service, and again, with respect to all the good guys out there that are trying to do your best. But what we have, in our experience, is a court service that is staffed at the upper levels by absolute thorough dirtbags, career liars, as we say, and moral deviants, doing the bidding of dirty judges, rogue judges, like some of these people that we've mentioned in this short video. Okay? So the reason I come back to people like Justice Donal O'Donnell, who is expecting to be nominated as the next Chief Justice. Now think about this for a minute, guys. He is in the book. He is in the book Criminality in the Irish Courts, which lists 100 office holders and agents of the state in outright proven criminal activity, and nothing is being done about it. All the way up to the President of Ireland, up to the Justice Committees in the Houses of the Oireachtas. Nobody is doing anything about it. So we have to do something, okay? So I'm saying to people out there, anybody who has a case going into the Supreme Court, all you have to do is make a statement on your affidavit or put in a conditional notice to the court saying, I want it very clear, made very clear, I will not have any dealings with Justice Donal O'Donnell on the basis that he has been proscribed and excluded, which is a form in the back of the book, all right, because he has committed criminal offences, and the applications to have those criminal offences dealt with, both in the courts and to the Garda Síochána and to the various oversight bodies, including the Justice Committee at the Houses of the Oireachtas and the Ministers for Justice, is being completely and scandalously ignored. Yet he's going to take a position as the top judicial position in the land. Guys, if we let this sort of stuff happen, we deserve what we get. Anyway, to come back then to the issue at hand, guys. First of all, I'm going to mention something to do with all of these latest lockdown regulations. Article 15 of the Constitution. Now bear in mind, guys, the Constitution, keeping it simple, the Constitution is the superior law in this state. Forget European Union law for a minute, okay? The Constitution, anything like acts, laws, statutes and all that sort of stuff must be in alignment with the Constitution. If they're not, they are unlawful, okay? And we shouldn't be accepting it, okay? So Article 15(4) states, the Oireachtas shall not enact any law which is in any respect repugnant to this Constitution or any provision thereof. That's all I'm going to say, guys. Look it up for yourselves. Then look at this new legislation that's just come out that's given Stephen Donnelly powers to actually make his own laws. This is absolutely ridiculous, guys. We're going back to the Dark Ages, back to the Middle Ages. Never mind all the excuses and the propaganda about there being a massively dangerous pandemic. Guys, I'm not going to go into that in case we get censored. I'm just saying to you, there will be a book out shortly called Crisis, Cull or Coup, What, How and Who, Facts and Truths to Make You Think, okay? When that comes out, I'll give you all a heads up. You will understand then what's really happening, why it's happening, and what we need to do about it. But one of the things we are doing, and I say now, speaking as an officer of the People's Tribunal of Ireland, I cannot speak on behalf of the tribunal, but I can give you some information. And the information I'm about to give to you, again, I want you all, guys, to please listen carefully. This is Article 38, number 3 of the Constitution. Special courts may be established by law for the trial of offences in cases where it may be determined, in accordance with such law, that the ordinary courts are inadequate to secure the effective administration of justice and the preservation of public peace and order. Well, if we haven't proven that in the books that we're producing and in these videos, guys, then, well, black isn't black and white isn't white, okay? So on that premise, guys, I want everyone to stand by and be on the alert, because what we have done now is I've made an application. Now, as a private individual, I've made an application to the People's Tribunal. Obviously, I won't have anything to do with processing or adjudicating on that application, because it has to be independent. It has to be seen to be independent. Just like, you know, if you appeal against a judge's decision up in the High Court, that judge can't sit on that appeal, obviously, okay? So, but what we've done is we've already served a notification of requisition on the Chief Justice, Frank Clark, because he is also the chairperson of the Court Service Board, okay? So him, all the presidents of the court, the CEO of the Court Service, the Minister for Justice, and all of their aunties and uncles, again, the Attorney General, they've all been served with this notice. What we're doing is we're telling them that we need a court up at the CCJ on Thursday, July the 1st at 11 o'clock. Now, we've told them either you provide us with that, a courtroom at that venue. What for? An Article 40.1 inquiry. I'll come back to that in a second, guys. Either they provide us with that facility or we will appropriate it. Now, again, not getting anybody too excited. Are we implying that there's going to be a violent takeover of the courts? Absolutely not. Not, because we don't engage in criminal activity of any sort. Now, let's hope that the guards will provide us an escort again. But the idea is, guys, we will be asking people to turn up on that day, because whatever happens, even if we have to literally hold court outside in the rain, we will have the materials with us and the facility to do that, and we will continue. In other words, that hearing is going ahead at 11 o'clock on Thursday, July the 1st, up at the CCJ. Now we'll have cameras there as well, so it will also be available to those of you that either can't make it to Dublin. We intend to try and get a live link up. If we can't get a live link, we'll certainly record everything and put it up afterwards. Now you might say, well, what on earth is going on here? Yeah, right. So please bear with us here for a moment, guys. Now, in an effort to try and help all of the Irish public who are trying to deal with this criminal cabal who are masquerading as members of the judiciary, as court surface senior staff, as agents of the DPP's office, as barristers and solicitors. And again, I say it, I keep putting a shout out, and I do know some decent solicitors, barristers, guards, court service staff members, and I hope there's still a few decent judges up there. There are one or two I've heard good reports about, but the ones we've been dealing with, that we keep putting their faces up here, they are a shambolic disgrace. They shouldn't be anywhere near a courtroom except in handcuffs, okay? And one of the ways that we can empower the public when they go into these places is, number one, and go on the Integrity Ireland website, please, guys, and look for this, top left-hand side. Asseverations, okay? These are lawful documents based on written positive law. Nobody can argue with them because they're based on their own laws. These documents can be used in your cases to stop all of the tomfoolery and the deception and the rising costs and all that sort of stuff, okay? You can use these documents to shut it down. But there's another way as well. Now, you have to understand this, guys. If you've got cases in front of the courts right now, or if you're facing charges and everything and you're already tangled up in the system, there's limited use that this can be to you. But if you've decided, I've had enough of dealing with scheming, thieving so-and-sos who are serving me up toxic soup and forcing me to pay through the nose for it, and then forcing me to pay to get out of the building again. Yeah? This is what they're doing up there. If you're one of those people who's had enough, okay, here's one option for you. Now, we're starting with this hearing on July the 1st up at the CCJ. Now, of course, if there are restrictions in place, please don't do anything that hands the opposition an opportunity to corral us or attack us or anything like that. If there are restrictions in place, we will accommodate those by standing a certain distance apart, whatever is necessary, okay, guys? But this thing is going ahead. And so July the 1st, so what is it? Article 40.1, okay. In the Constitution, Article 40 very simply states that all citizens or all residents of this state are equal under the law. It's very, very simple. Now, don't forget, the Constitution trumps all the other laws that are secondary to it, which means acts, laws and statutes that are coming out of the Oireachtas, rules, court service rules, any of that nonsense, okay? None of that. If it doesn't align with the Constitution, then that's a problem. So there's that catch-all phrase. Am I, for example, Stephen Manning, am I being treated equally under the law to whom? To agents of the state. Well, the simple answer to that is no, I am not. And that is in violation of the Constitution. So what we've done, guys, we've set up a template, if you like, a procedure, whereby anybody in the country that can prove, now all you have to do, it's only got to be one incident, and you read the instructions to see for yourself, but this could be a relatively simple way of halting all of this criminality going on up in the Irish courts and across into the Dáil as well. You identify how you have been treated unfairly, where your Article 40.1 rights have been violated. And all you do is make an application to the People's Tribunal of Ireland. It's specific to Article 40.1, and you lay out on a short statement of truth, you lay out your claim that you have been prejudicially dealt with, unfairly dealt with, and you put the proofs there and you send it to the People's Tribunal. They then look into the matter, put the opposing party on notice, and for example on July the 1st, Michael McGrath, Judge of the High Court, has been told to be at the CCJ if he wants to defend his claim. He has the choice as well of sending in a written statement to defend his position. If he doesn't, we go ahead, or I say I will read out my statement on the record for the People's Tribunal, just like they do in the District Court. If you don't turn up, the case carries on without you. So this is what's going to happen. And after that then, the People's Tribunal should issue a document, a finding, a determination, whatever, and that will be a legal document. And that document can then be served back on the authorities and said, look, I'm not dealing with you as long as you're violating the Constitution. Bang, there's the proof that it's been doing. Why? Because the People's Tribunal have investigated the matter, they've adjudicated on the matter, and this is their finding. Now, the finding may or may not be. It's not up to me. It'll be up to the adjudicators. They will be independent people, okay? But if you think of you say, yeah, well, what's to stop the courts ignoring this? They can't ignore it because the whole foundations of the People's Tribunal are rooted in 2 or 3 publications. And one of those publications is the Big Black Book. So the only way that the authorities can challenge the integrity of what the People's Tribunal is doing, or even the authority of the People's Tribunal to do what they're doing, is by opening up that book. And trust me, they are doing everything under God's sky to try and stop this happening. So we'll just wrap up, guys, reminding everyone that I've written to the Irish Times and to the Western people. I've put them on notification that the article, which was produced by this Miss Corcoran from the Irish Times, who, you know, let's face it, guys, she might be getting paid by the Irish Times, but our reports are that she's an embedded, or an indentured, if you like, court reporter. In other words, she's there to do the bidding of the cabal. Not necessarily to tell the truth, to do the bidding of the cabal. And I'm going to say this in camera now, and I hope you're watching this, Anne Corcoran, okay? What would be your reaction if I were to tell you that we know you were not in the High Court that day listening to Michael McGrath reading out that judgment text? What would you say if you were facing criminal charges now for perjury? What is the Western People, which is owned by the Irish Times, and the Irish Times, what are the editors going to say when they hear this video? Yeah, I wonder indeed. To go back to the analogy of the restaurant serving toxic food and forcing us under threat, and because they have a monopoly, to pay through the nose for this rubbish that they're giving us. It really is as simple as this, guys. Don't go into that restaurant. Now you might say, well, what are we going to do for food? Well, we're not getting justice from these courts. So the more of us that keep insisting we will not deal with people that are named in the Big Black Book, number one, or who have since received a notice of proscription and exclusion. You just refuse to deal with them. And that would put paid to people like O'Donnell J, Donal O'Donnell, who is earmarked to be the next Supreme Court Justice. What's going to happen if everybody who has a case going up to the Supreme Court says, oh, by the way, I'm not interested in hearing the opinions of O'Donnell J. We're not interested in having him sit on our case, and if he does, we will lodge an appeal to the European courts. Based on what? Based on the fact that he has criminal charges pending against him, and he's just going ahead nevertheless as if there's nothing wrong. That's how we're going to stop these guys. Not just him, of course. I'm using him as the example because he's been earmarked for that promotion, just like an awful lot of the other rogues that we have named in the book. And it just does go to show that it's all about how well you protect the interests of the franchise and the cabal. The more willing you are to bend over backwards and do the dirt for them, the quicker you're going to get promoted. Please remember that, guys, because this is one sure way that we can defeat the wickedness and this diabolical wickedness that's going on up in these places. Just say no. Now, another important development is the creation of an online database. Now, we do have literally thousands of names of people who have contacted us over the years. Some of you, I know, must be frustrated because we literally haven't been able to get back to you, and it's really just a case of time management and not really having the resources. So we've gone ahead now and created this database, and we're asking anyone out there at all, if you want to be kept alerted of the progress of the Integrity Ireland project in particular, but also any of these upcoming hearings with the People's Tribunal. Okay, now we're not asking anybody for anything except for your name, your email address, your telephone number, and the county in which you live in. If you're outside of the country, tell us which country you're in. And what we will do then is put everybody in according to their location, and when something is happening in your area or something that is of interest to you, we will send you out the information, probably by email or whatever's necessary. So we ask you, please don't be shy, do sign up, because this will be one solid way to make sure you don't miss out on the major developments. Anyway, we'll leave it at that for the moment, guys. Mark your calendars. We do want a big turnout for this, and also go and visit the new website of the People's Tribunal, and just familiarise yourself with it. We're going to keep it as simple as possible, but if this process works, well, it is working already, then we will make it available to everyone. Thanks again, guys. Remember, one by one, together, we can make a difference.